Well, first of all, Nilanjan Datta, a warm welcome to you, ladies and gentlemen, the former spokesperson and director of Media AI, and of course, a very senior journalist. Nilanjan Datta, it's an absolute pleasure to have you to begin with.
I would say the pleasure is mine and a privilege that you have invited me for the show.
Nilanjan Datta, I'm going to treat this like as an education for me and for everybody who's watching this. We do watch football. We are definitely following Indian football, especially in the recent times that it's doing so well. But more so still, just to get to know better, I'm sure a lot of youngsters have a lot of questions around football, especially, when we watch all the leagues happening in Europe, we always feel that where is India? What is happening? So I think our questions are very, very related to that. So I'd like to just start by the journey of Indian football. Where was it and where is it now?
Well, the past is glorious. The past, people say, will always be glorious. But you know what? If we try to live in the past for long, we just don't move ahead. Taking no credit away from what the 60s, 50s, 60s, 70s gave us, Indian football prefers to look back. We obviously need to take inspiration from the past, what it had given us, respect the legends which we have. But at the same time, we need to carry forward the legacy, which some way or the other, I believe we have some time or some way faltered down the line. Indian football is arriving. It's definitely arriving. It's on the threshold. But this statement of arriving as it comes from everyone has been there for too long, because other nations who were in the 80s or 90s behind us have overtaken us at the current moment, and we are playing catch up. That's the current scenario which we are in.
Yeah, I think that is a question for everybody. And the question basically starts with why? Why are we still playing catch up? Especially because, the kind of population that India has, number one. Then in terms of just visibly the largest market for European football outside Europe, right? So why?
See, basically the downslide started from the 80s, if I may say, or the mid 70s, wherein, according to my assessment, Indian football got a bit complacent. And I say this because I've been lucky enough to be introduced into Indian sports by my parents and the joint family I lived in from the late 70s. Obviously, that gives a hint about my age. That's a different story altogether. My first baptism of Indian football at the international match was when I was barely in standard one, India playing Yugoslavia in the first Nehru Cup at the majestic Eden Gardens. Football those days used to be played at the Eden Gardens, good old days. So I've followed Indian football like anything. Regular at the Kolkata Moidan. Those were the Doordarshan days when we used to have matches almost each and every day. Now, from then, the downslide started, and the downslide coincided with cricket coming up, because 1983 changed the Indian sporting scenario absolutely. The commercial angle, which the administrators of the cricketing fraternity, to be putting it very rightly, were ever aware of and could understand what the future lies. Not just Indian football, all other sports fumbled. So at the time when commercially the sport was getting better and bigger in other Asian countries like Japan, Korea Republic, whom we used to be kind of competing with till the early 80s. Indian commercial angle started when? No one knows. The National Football League was introduced in the mid 90s. Maybe we were a bit late, but even that being introduced, it did not quite take off for several reasons or the other. And the commercial support, and from the commercial support, I do not mean that needs to be benevolence from the part of the sponsors. It cannot be, or the corporate world. But somehow, Indian footballers wasn't able to tap into the corporate world, which could give in the funds and make the right development at the right places for the right steps to be taken. Some 15, 20 years, we are still lagging behind.
Well, it is quite evident. And while we have gotten a glimpse as to what could have been done right, and you very rightly mentioned the involvement of the corporate sector, which has definitely happened, in India's largest sport, which is cricket. But football still is the second most watched sport in the country. And while there is, the ISL, which has contributed to its growth in the country, it has also contributed to give a pedestal to a lot of youngsters from where talent has come out. What else can be done? And how much does India require one comprehensive league that has happened for cricket?
Well, one comprehensive factor, we need not one result, but a series of results at the international stage, which can bring the entire country onto the streets. That's what is required. Well, what is lacking other than the corporate structure, means corporate support, early corporate support? Nowadays, we are having decent corporate support, no doubt about that. Well, is the quality of coaching, which I always kind of have been harping around. The quality of coaching is not up to the mark. And you know what? Coaches of India, you can divide it into two, three segments. The first part was once upon a time, till the 80s or the 90s or the early 2000s, we had coaches who were mostly ex-players, had the knowledge of the practical sense of the footballing world, and were successful coaches at the domestic level. They did not have licenses. They were good scouts, they were good spotters, they could eye a footballer who can be good, the difference between a domestic footballer and an international footballer. Then the licenses came in, which is very much required. The conflict started there. Nowadays, the coaches, we speak about the current scenario. Again, to be divided into two parts. Coaching is a theory aspect on one side, the practical aspect on one side. Not necessarily the guys who are good in theory turn out to be good practical coaches. The game sense, the game reading, the eye for the sport maybe is not of that same tactical acumen as the theory is, and vice versa for the guys who are better off in the practical. The balance needs to be struck. Now, in a vast country like India, the coaches who are doing the licenses need to be acting as the scouts. And you know what? Whenever you go to, not a license does not enrich a coach to elevate himself or herself to a level of being a good coach. For example, a degree all of us have from a school or a college or a university, but it's for ourselves to be upgrading ourselves each and every day. Football in this modern world is evolving each and every minute, if not each and every second. So you need to stay abreasted as to what modern football is all about. And unless you do that, you won't be able to impart the knowledge to the kids. For example, you look at the senior national team. I've been lucky to be enough with the federation and being the team media officer for 550 plus matches. God has been very kind. But you know what? At the senior level, all the coaches I worked with, be it a Wim Koevermans or a Savio Medera or a Stephen Constantine or Armando Colasso or Igor Stimac at the current moment, they have to work on the basics of the footballer in Europe or in major parts of Asia, Australia, Africa even. All those aspects are dealt prior to the time it's 14, 15, 16. It's only the tactical sense. Now, unless the coaching at the grassroots level improve, there are so many stories I can write a book on that. It's just not up to the mark, and it reflects on the quality of the players which we are producing. Now, you can only rub them and kind of shine them to a certain level, but had all those players got better coaching when they were kids? Only the other day, Sunil said, wish I went to Portugal at the age of 14 or 15. That's the difference, because he did play in the best clubs of the country, trained under the best coaches of the country. But was he good enough? It wasn't good enough. Not that he was good enough. He wasn't good enough. It wasn't.
You know, it's also interesting, Nilanjan, that today happens to be the AIFF Grassroots Day. I was watching it on Twitter, so this interview has also come out is happening on a very interesting day. I don't know when will it be released, whether tomorrow or yeah, but we're shooting this on the 23rd of June, which is also the Grassroots Day. So talking about grassroots, now if I have to ask you that which state, because I was actually listening to one of your podcasts where you were talking about coaches being scouts, and in that podcast you were mentioning how state involvement is a must in order to develop grassroots talent. If I had to ask you that which state as of today is contributing the most, apart from, of course, West Bengal, which state has taken up the baton of actually contributing towards football and which is actually taking some steps in that direction or major steps in that direction? Which state would that be?
Well, Bengal, I would be doubting whether it still is. If you ask me, my 2 cents would be the state of Mizoram. That's where the football culture, they have been able to merge the football culture with the sociological aspect of the society. There's a league in progress. There's a grassroots programs in progress, always in existence, and each and every one are coming out to play the sport. It's backed by the very vibrant state association with kind of support also coming in from the state government. Now, all of them needs to be working as a clout if the sport needs to develop. You speak about the grassroots day. What the sentiment around is, oh, the All India Football Federation is conducting one grassroots day. Well, it's not the sole responsibility of the AIFF to do it. And I'm not working with the AIFF at all right at the current moment. What are the state associations doing? Are they? And it's just a celebration. We are celebrating our Independence Day on August 15th. But is it the only day we need to work? No, absolutely not. The district associations, the local clubs, the state associations, and also the clubs playing in the I-League and the ISL. What has their involvement? One. And contribution being to the real grassroots of Indian football. Therein lies the catch. If all of them join hands together, or if not join hands, if all of them in their own state work together, a country of 1.42 billion cannot be kept behind. But what I was saying, since the late 70s or 80s, which I have been watching football, there have only been talks, and the talks still continue. What has been done? Very, very minuscule percentage of what was promised. Everyone knows what needs to be done, but is it being done? The kid needs to study, but is the kid studying? You need to rope in the teachers, send the kid to the school, get the correct tuitions, check the homework, also give out the test model papers to see that the kid has been practicing. There's a revision in course, and then the kid goes on to the examination. Here what happens? 15 days or 10 days, 12 days or 2 days of just a kind of going through the syllabus. You aren't able to complete the syllabus, and then the kid goes to the exam. Obviously, it will be a failure.
So, Nilanjan, of course, we've spoken about that, and this is very, very obvious to every football fan, or for that matter, who's watching football and growing on it, especially in India. But how has the economics of ISL contributed to the dynamics of football in the country?
Well, ISL has been one of the best things that has happened to Indian football, because the National Football League was launched in the mid-90s. It was renamed or rebranded as the I-League in 2005-06. But it was not kind of taking us anywhere. The takeoff which everyone had expected and had planned didn't happen in the right spirit. What was happening in the I-League? Clubs were playing, for example. People say, what has been the contribution of the ISL? There are skeptics, and there's a section of the Indian footballing fraternity who feel each and every time you need to point someone, you point a finger at the AIFF and the finger at the ISL. You're getting primetime television, number one. You're playing in decent venues, exceptional venues. You're getting good players coming, quality recruits coming in from all over the world to play. You have the biggest corporate houses of the country, ATK Mohan Supergiant, sorry, Mohan Bagan Supergiant, my apologies, Mohan Bagan Supergiant, Chennai NFC, Reliance is there, the Tatas are there, JSW Bengaluru FC is there. There are tie-ups with the foreign clubs which has happened. Now, each one of them are contributing and coming for the sake of Indian football. I remember during my early days as a journalist from late 90s to early 2000, the AIFF had kind of were persuading the Tatas to be getting into the I-League or the National Football League at that matter. It didn't happen. So the dynamics and the economics are changing. The players are earning money, and most importantly, the players are getting their fees on time. Gone are the days when they had to run after officials. Sir ji, mera payment dila do. Sir ji, mera payment dila do. And still lot many class of 2011, 2008 still tell me, Dada, wo wala payment to hame nahi mila, kuch ho sakta hai kya? And then you complain to FIFA. So that's what has changed. Now, what about the development of the football? Well, we are now aware as to how the players need to train. In Indian football, there are no off seasons at the current moment. You look at the physique of each and every Indian footballer, he's aware of what he needs to eat, when he needs to sleep, how he needs to train. If he wants to go on vacation, I won't be touching this, I won't be doing this, I can only do this. That awareness level has stepped in. This awareness level should have stepped in the early 90s, if not the late 80s at all. Now you need to be giving that sort of time. The style of play is changing. The national team is trying to play a different position-based style. Why are they successful? To some extent, because the clubs are also following the same style. So a player is comfortable with the ball, on the ball. So when the ball comes, he has that time, he can make that decision, he can take that decision, okay, that I can do this, I can do that. Obviously, at the international level, it needs to be faster. But those are the changes that are coming in. And obviously, there are talks of having many more teams in the ISL. The promotion relegation is to be introduced, and then we take off.
Well, Nilanjan, definitely ISL has done its duty, and of course, it is on the path of actually sort of fostering a football culture. But how important does it become for having multilateral and small FIFA tournaments in the country to foster this culture even deeper?
Well, we have quite many mega events. The Under-17 World Cup, both for the men and the women. The Asian Cup for the women, we hosted. The current regime of AIFF said that we shouldn't be going and following the process of hosting mega tournaments, major tournaments, rather than we would be focusing on the grassroots, spend that money out there. Well, there are both sides of the coin to it. More than hosting the senior teams, because I see this, there have been recent views of a recent story of Argentina wanting to play in India. The federation said, no, we can't do it. because of the money which they had demanded.
That was very surprising and shocking to a lot of people, Nilanjan. I have to tell you that.
The decision was shocking, but I support that decision because in one match you are spending some 42 to 45 crores of rupees for 90 minutes. Obviously, you don't even know whether they will be fielding their first 11 or not, whether Lionel Messi will be at all taking the field or not. Maybe if there's a kind of collaboration between the two federations, he may play. But what would have Indian football gained out of it? Nothing. Instead, that money, if it's spent on the grassroots, very right decision. More than that, I would expect, or I would not expect, I would want more and more youth tournaments to be played across all over the country at the international level. So if you are able to have an Argentinian youth under 16 or the under 19 team, or an English under 16 or an under 19 team coming over to India to play a bilateral series or a four-nation tournament, both for the men and women, because whenever we speak about football, we only speak about men's football. Absolutely not. I believe that would be helping Indian football much more than hosting the world champions on a certain night.
When
my 2 cents.
I'm sure, but I mean, you know it better. And the decision is right. It is right. It's just that, when the reason for it was finance, that was a little.
Well, it will be finance. There will be obviously the main bone of contention is the money which needs to be poured in. But it's illogical to be putting in so much of money into one match of just 90 minutes. Because you want to see certain people playing in front of your eyes. The entire Argentinian team, obviously they were not the world champions, played a very competitive match against Venezuela at the Salt Lake Stadium 2011 or 12. Messi was there. Argentina won 1-0. But involving the national team to be playing such, our national team to be playing such a match, to me is illogical, especially at the men's level. Because the women's team had gone there and they had lost to Brazil, but we had scored 1. It's impossible for us to even kind of enter or have a get shot and the rival goal. It wouldn't have helped Indian football at all. I fully stand by the decision.
All right. Well, it did hurt a little, but well,
No, it's my 2 cents. You are free to have your own.
You know it better, and now that you say it, yes, for sure. Now, Nilanjan, of course, we've seen our performance at the Hero Intercontinental Cup, and now at the SAF Championship, where we defeated Pakistan. Now, the importance of these two tournaments right before the Asian Cup. How important are these two and our performances in these two?
The current regime of the AIFF needs to be lauded like anything for organizing these tournaments. More than organizing the tournaments, scheduling the tournaments one after the other. Okay. Because you know what people are missing is they are playing every third day, which is the schedule which they'll be playing at the Asian Cup. It doesn't make a sense to be playing on the 1st of the month and the 7th of the month and the 14th of the month. You have to play on the 1st, 4th and the 7th because those are the matches. You need to be your body needs to recover and play within those time framework. Football is a body contact sport. There would be niggles, people would be tired, there would be cut problems. Therein lies the real test. Now, the Hero Intercontinental Cup, it wasn't much of a surprise that India won. The dip in Lebanon's quality, I feel, was evident, but they were a better team in the past. Maybe we have improved. It can be put around both ways. But people are kind of going gaga over the victory in the Hero Intercontinental Cup. It does not reflect the kind of challenge which we will be facing in the Asian Cup. But is it only negative? Absolutely not. The most positive part is the team is winning. The winning mentality is back. Sustainability of the momentum will define the team. It's a happy dressing room. The attitude is back, and nowadays the self-belief of the players are back, which was there at the time of Stephen Constantine's team. Whichever team comes in front of us, we will fight and we will win. That self-belief is back, and we are on a kind of a winning spree. So that obviously will be helping the team in the build-up to the Asian Cup. The Kings Cup and the Mardeka Championship are also there. We'll be also having the World Cup qualifiers. So in that sense, Igor is a very, very lucky coach having such a build-up to the Asian Cup.
Yeah, not just that. Actually, I have a stat here that India's current FIFA ranking is 101. In 1993, it was 100, and of course, it then went downhill relatively fast. While the records are actually slowly growing up, and we spoke about right before the Asian Cup. One thing that probably concerned a lot of people, especially in what we've seen in recent performances, is that after Sunil Chhetri, who takes the baton of Indian football forward? Who, according to you?
It's very difficult to be answering that question. Very, very difficult to answer that question because when Sunil Baichung retired 2011, Sunil Chhetri had not been Sunil Chhetri till then. He was still playing second fiddle. His maturity came in from 2013-14 onwards after that stint in Portugal. Now, but all throughout, he had played with Baichung, the iconic Baichung Bhutia, his idol Baichung Bhutia, and India were playing a 4-4-2 formation. So each and every day, Baichung was doing all the hard work. Sunil was kind of getting the free space which Baichung was allowing him to do. He knew what a striker needs to do, how a striker needs to operate, and that has been his experience. If you speak to him, he will always mention about that period. JJ Lalpeklua came in, and JJ settled in because he was playing with Sunil with a 4-4-2 format, two strikers, one holding, the other coming in from behind. With the current setup where we are playing with one striker and a false number 9, not most of the days, older days, we have only one striker playing. So the other striker, whoever it may be, the names of an Ishan Pandit or a Rahim Ali or a Farooq Chaudhary who's unfortunately injured, or the youngsters like a Gurkirat or a Vikram Pratap who can obviously play as a striker. They are not getting the chance regularly to be playing alongside Sunil. And even if they come on, they are not playing alongside Sunil because they are replacing Sunil at the 50th minute, 70th minute, 80th minute, as per the situation of the match. Under current circumstances, with the ISL clubs, obviously, each and every club all over the world has the spine of foreign players there. It's very, very impossible for an Indian striker to be finding a regular place. And if you ask that question, honestly, one doesn't have any answer. I don't have honestly any answer. There's a scope in Rahim Ali. I'm a big fan of him, despite people criticizing him at the social media, on the social media. Very physical, with a sudden burst of speed. The strength in his calf muscles and the groin defines Rahim as a footballer, but he needs to be playing. There's also Farooq Chaudhary, whose first touch reminds me of an IM Vijayan. Ishan Pandita always comes in late and scores. But Sunil Chhetri is special. Can anyone replace him? Obviously, he will be replaced one day. To the same effect, I'm not sure. One more thing I just needed to it's my mindset. What makes Sunil special? People always ask, what makes Sunil Chhetri special? I give you an example. The other day, I was just kind of rewinding the Mongolia match, and it struck me the other day. In the match against Mongolia in the Hero Intercontinental Cup, in the second half, early in the second half, he suffered a blow of elbow on the back. It was painful. Any other player in the team or in India would have kind of rolled 3 or 4 times, shouted to the bench, bang the ground with his hand. The physios would have run in, the doctors would have run in, people would have felt, oh my goodness, he won't be playing. Is it a bad injury? After the sprays have been done, he would have limped to the sidelines. Ref, can I come in? The ref would have said, okay, come from the other side. 2 or 3 minutes wasted. Much to the applause of the crowd, the player gets in. The team is defending with 10 players. What makes Sunil special is, tell me an instance where in the last 16, 17 years of international football and him playing domestic football, and he being a striker, he has been taking the harshest of the harsh, toughest of the tough tackles. Never ever for a single second has Sunil Chhetri been stretched out. He knows that if I go out, my team will be playing with 10 men. That's the mentality of a champion player versus the others who idolize him. And mark my words, you go down and think about, ask people, how many times has Sunil Chhetri been stretched out? Has he not been hit? He won't go out. That's the competitive spirit of Sunil Chhetri. That makes him special. That attitude was there with Baichung Bhutia. That attitude is there with Sunil Chhetri. The others need to learn. But no answer as to who will be replacing.
An absolute legend. All right. Nilanjan Datta, one thing that could, according to you, in the recent times, at least add value in terms of 15% more viewership, 15% of benefit to Indian football, where like one thing that could probably be a game changer, what would it be?
Our players need to go and play abroad. It's as simple as that. Because when you speak at the under 14, at the under 16 level, I have been doing that for 2 decades now, or more than 2 decades. Everyone says, I want to play in Europe. But the salaries are exorbitant, and you need to be linking it to the sociological context. Most of the players are coming from around the poverty line. They have many social responsibilities, family responsibilities. So the self-doubts do creep in. Why should I be going to an alien country, speak an alien language, struggle myself, whereas I'm getting 17, 18, 20 times the salary at the age of 19 or 20? Is it my sole responsibility? I do not blame them at all. And I'm all for players getting the salary. But are they improving as players? Why will an Indian who doesn't follow Indian football much, doesn't he or she want to see an Indian player playing in the La Liga or the EPL? Obviously, nowadays, exactly today, it's not possible. But 5 years, 6 years, 7 years from now, that can be possible. But someone needs to make the way out. Otherwise, you can't be there. So unless you do it, the interest won't grow. You won't be having heroes because we only idolize heroes. I give you an example, very, very blatant example. Gurpreet Singh Sandhu.
Yeah.
I've seen Gurpreet from the under 16 days. He was blessed with an international height for a goalkeeper. People made fun of him. Even Gurpreet admits that, and Gurpreet's humor is such. हाँ सर जी मेरे नाम पे तो लोग बोलता था मैं मच्छर मारता था ताली बजाता था बॉल पकड़ने के लिए, and it was true. That guy, people made fun of him. Everyone said when he was taking a match because of his mistakes which he had committed, the potential was always there. Boss, आज ज्यादा मत, आज ज्यादा नहीं. But that Gurpreet Sandhu went abroad. 3 years he cooked his own food in an extremely cold condition. The first year, he just worked on his basics. And he came back and he told me once, sir, if my basics were taught properly in India, the first day I would have broken into the team. And when he came to the national team in 2014 onwards, 2015, in the practice sessions, I would feel, or anyone would feel, hey, can you score against Gurpreet? You can't. You simply couldn't score against Gurpreet Singh. I swear. So much so that in the match against Iran in Bengaluru, the coach Stephen Constantine put Subroto Paul, the Spider-Man of Indian goalkeeping, on the bench and played Gurpreet Singh Sandhu. He never looked back since then. And the stint of the Indian national team from 2015 to 2019, Stephen Constantine's era, people speak about defensive lines. People speak about Sunil Chhetri. If you ask me, the best player has always been Gurpreet Sandhu during that stint. He kept us in the matches. With his huge body, when he went, you just couldn't score past him. What has happened to him now? The same quality of training he's not getting in India. And there's a very sharp dip. He may not agree in his goalkeeping instincts and his goalkeeping form. So that's what you gain when you train abroad, when you play abroad. Sunil Chetri's vision was opened because he went to Portugal. He didn't play. He was the senior most out there in the youth, in the B team. Someone who had captained his country couldn't play a single match, but he understood what international football is all about. You speak to a Subroto Paul, he'll say the same thing when he went to Denmark. That's what we need for our players to get upgraded. But given the salaries which we have, will they? I don't blame them. That's the reason which is pulling us back. And if you link that to the quality of coaching or the lack of quality of coaching which we have from our grassroots days, that's where we have stuck. Otherwise, in a country of 1.42 billion, it's huge. You can't believe that we can't do. I will always say that. And this is my not 2 cents, maybe 3 cents.
I also cannot believe that we cannot do it. In fact, with the recent rise of India in other sports for that matter, track and field sports and everything, the kind of country we have, the kind of hard work we are able to put, the kind of corporate structure we have, I also believe that
the unthinkable has happened because we have won an Olympics gold in athletics. Unthinkable. If 2015, 2016, 2017, you wouldn't have thought about that.
Yeah.
You look at the Thomas Cup. In a badminton Thomas Cup, we are there. We have won a team sport. Means we have the team event in the individual sport. That's one of the biggest achievements to me in Indian sporting scenario. Hockey is a sentimental sport. And the women were unlucky to not have won the bronze. The men did win the bronze after the time. So whenever the hockey team plays, we know, aaj hoega. Ho sakta hai. That self-belief the players and we, the Indian football fraternity, need to be putting into the fans who follow and also kind of try to shy away from it.
All right, Nilanjan, first of all, thank you so much for being so candid. And it was actually a very heart-to-heart chat. I have to tell you this. Very quickly, your predictions for the Asian Cup.
Let's get out of the group stage. I won't say we can go into the semi-finals, but given the fact that we are improving, we honestly have improved. The next step needs to be taken. We just missed by a whisker in 2019. It's a difficult group. Australia, Uzbekistan, Syria. Syria, we have beaten Uzbekistan. I would say if we have our day, we can. Australia, we can keep down as tight as much as we can. Let's move out of the group stage. Why not?
Okay. Fingers crossed. And once again, thank you so much. I've really enjoyed this.
My privilege. Pleasure.
Personally, very, very soon. And if you're in Delhi, for sure, 100%.
Oh, definitely. Thank you so much.
I hope you enjoyed it too.
Definitely, without a doubt.
And all the best to Indian football.
Thank you so much. I speak very fast and I speak my heart out. You have to do that. Otherwise,
that's the way to go about it. I think that is our duty.